Hey folks, and welcome to the PlantStock channel. My name is Jesse if we haven't met yet. And tonight we're going to focus on Beyond Meat and the latest news regarding that they have finally gotten upgraded by another analyst up to $190, which is really good news. We're going to talk about what that means for the stock and the company. And we're going to get a small visit from Jim Cramer from the street again to hear what he feels about this news. But furthermore, we're going to also talk about, in the end, with my final thoughts, is it a buy at the moment, and using what I call the 1 to 10% rule. And before we get to it, people, I would truly appreciate, as always, an early thumbs up, since it will really help expand the channel. And if you want to get more information regarding Beyond Meat and other plant-based stocks, make sure to subscribe and don't forget that bell button. I really appreciate your help. So if we just take a look at the stock chart, we can see a ticker symbol BYND. Take a look at the last month. Yeah, it's been a roller coaster, which is standard with Beyond Meat, right? But being Beyond Meat, I guess to some extent you could say that it's almost trading sideways, right? It kind of equals up here. So if we take a look at the article from the street, Beyond Meat jumps as Stevens sees higher volume, cost controls. And Stevens, the analyst Mark Connolly, placed a $190 price target on the stock, indicating 42% potential upside from the stock's Thursday closing price. And this is what he had to say, quote, "Protein went from a novelty to one of the most successful new food products launches in history in just 2 years." And also here, to get some kind of nuance, he is talking about the bear case being some rivals, and especially that could be Impossible Foods, but he doesn't see it as a problem long term here, as he states also that the increased competition also means increased consumer awareness and wider total addressable market. And we've talked about this on the channel many times. We're also going to talk more about it in the end, so stay tuned for that. He goes on in the article talking about the quick service restaurants adding Beyond Meat's products, and we know that McDonald's have added them now, and that's a deal that's probably gonna come up more and more in the end of the year. It takes time to get the process going, right? But still very good news, and it's the same with the Yum brands. And he also mentions that alternative protein can address some of China's most challenging food production issues. And this is true also considering China, they're the largest meat facilitator at the moment, right? They produce most of the meat on the planet, which is not strange with a huge population like that. But not only that China is experiencing more and more health issues when it comes to the population, they're getting more cancers now. They're getting a lot of heart diseases that weren't that common in China, because the ordinary people, the common people, they couldn't afford eating meat at the large volumes as we do here in the West. So their cancer occurrences, their heart disease occurrences was pretty low. And if you haven't heard about it, take a look in the China study, which actually emphasizes this very thing perfectly. So this makes it even more important for the Chinese government to try to find other solutions and avenues on how to bring in some kind of meat equivalent, but that is healthier for you and definitely better for the planet from a sustainability perspective. And Beyond Meat, as we know, they already have a couple of deals with the Chinese government there and building, as we speak, 2 facilities in China. But it's probably going to take a little time before we really see those huge revenues that I do expect us to see from China. And I actually believe that the Chinese market could be one of the biggest markets on the planet for Beyond Meat. And as we've talked about before, including India as well. And also, something we often have talked about on this channel is that he mentions that while product costs remain high, Connolly expects increased volume as well as process efficiency and ingredient optimization to bring down prices. And that's what Ethan Brown, the CEO of Beyond Meat, has been talking about several times, right? And within 3 years from now, they do expect to have at least one of their meat items, or equivalent to meat, being lowered in price, so it's actually cheaper than traditional meat products, which I think would make this a game changer, as we talked about many times. Further on, let's talk about old news that's a couple weeks and 1 or 2 months old, that Beyond Meat's Beyond Sausage Hot Italian will be added to the fresh meat aisle of around 400 Walmart stores, alongside Cookout Classic Value Pack to around 500 locations. And they go on talking about their recent deals with PepsiCo, McDonald's, and Yum Brands. So Jim Cramer, who is normally quite bullish on Beyond Meat, what is his thoughts and perspective on this news?
There's a stock that I want to bring up again, and that's Beyond Meat, specifically because it was your Mad Dash, but there was also a city note. So you said that partnerships matter when it comes to Beyond and noted that it is still early days.
Well, remember, the partnerships are food service. So that's not going to matter yet because McDonald's has not installed make lines for Beyond, and we don't know exactly how much what the Yum deal is really going to play out to be. But we do know that all these companies want a plant-based alternative because of what their customers want. And if that is the case, then I think you have to take a swing at Beyond if you want to. It's very speculative. But I do think that Beyond is here to stay, and it's been hurt very badly by food service. And when these food service places open up, it's going to do very well. So I would buy it ahead of that.
Do you have, maybe this is too speculative for you, Jim, but I am wondering if there's maybe a timeline that we can look at to see when this will go from the early days of Beyond to maybe when it's more mature and when the market around Beyond is more mature?
Well, no, this is about food service. They have competitors that are not, Impossible is a GMO company. I think the more people learn about that, the more people will shy away from Impossible, even though it tastes good. But this is just purely a case of they believe, and I have to believe them, that when you get these food service companies open and they're selling a lot, they're giving out a lot of Beyond, like your cafeteria and people come back to work, then it will do well. I don't think I think it is going to do very well, and I think that Beyond is a very attractive spec right here.
So to conclude what we've just been talking about, is it a buy at this moment? Well, I think it really depends on how long do you plan to keep this, right? On this channel, we're all about long-term investing. But from what I talked about in the beginning, could you see the 1 to 10% idea here? What I mean by that is that if we take 1% of the market that Beyond is targeting, could they take 1% of the market that they're targeting? So what market are they targeting? Well, it's the $1.4 trillion meat market, the overall world sales when it comes to meat. Could they take 1% of that? Well, what would that mean? Well, that would mean $14 billion. Right now, they're trading around $8 to $9 billion. So could they actually have sales for $14 billion? I think that's very likely, in my opinion, just 1% of it. Could they have maybe 5% of the market? This would mean $70 billion, right? Could they have 10% of the market? Well, that's getting tougher, a lot tougher, right? But that would be $140 billion. But even just 1, 2, 3%, which I see as very, very likely in a couple of years, that would be huge, right? And that would mean that the stock price would shoot up like crazy. Remember, as we talked about, that Jim Cramer is very bullish. He does see this as maybe being the next Amazon, the next Facebook, the next Alphabet, right? Because they do have that kind of potential. They have the first mover advantage. We are in a paradigm shift, as we talked about many times on this channel. And guys, you have to also remember, you have to go beyond where they're at right now, right? Now they have a couple of products, a couple of meat products, but in a couple of years from now, they're developing new things all the time, right? New SKUs. Imagine bacon, imagine ribs, and then the real huge thing that they're actually working on, imagine chicken, beyond chicken, right? Most people in the West usually eat more chicken than red meat, which would mean a whole larger market that's opening up for Beyond Meat. There's so many different types of SKUs that they could go into, that they probably will go into. And then when we get back to the deals that they have on the table, right, with McDonald's, Yum Brands, meaning Pizza Hut, Kentucky Fried Chicken, and Taco Bell, right? And then the PepsiCo deal being that they're going to start creating some healthy snacks with them, different alternative snacks or products, but also talking about different beverages. And we've been speculating about that, if that could be dairy alternatives, which would also be incredibly huge. So we have so much to look forward to. So I have to say, is it a buy? Yes, it's definitely a buy, especially if you're buying long term. Don't buy it for a month ahead or a couple of months ahead or a couple of weeks ahead. Buy it for the years to come. Then it's definitely a buy, in my opinion. Remember, I'm not a financial advisor, but as a private person, I'm just saying it is a buy, in my opinion. But it's obviously important then that you could see the vision, right? That you could see where they could land in a couple of years from now, what kind of market shares they take from the overall animal agriculture industry, which is huge, right? And this being the largest company, it's important to think about that. And when it comes to having rivals like Impossible Foods being considered maybe the largest threat out there, I would say, just like Jim Cramer talks about, they are using GMOs, right? GMOs is something that next generations of populations, the millennials, the Gen Zs, they're going to care more and more about what they put in their bodies, right? They don't want any gene modified ingredients to be put in their body because we still don't know what happens. I'm not saying that everything that's GMO is a negative thing, but we know too little about it, right? So why go have a product that contains that when you can get another product that's more healthy for you? And also, Impossible Foods uses soy, and I don't see a problem with soy at all, but there's plenty of people out there who either have intolerances with soy or have issues with soy because they believe the negative press, and that's up to them, right? To each his own. But that's the perfect thing, the perfect deal with Beyond Meat. They're not using soy-based products. It's pea-based products. So in that way, I do see them as having yet another advantage towards Impossible Foods. But also, this plant-based market is very young still. There's ample room for the two of them. There's ample room for plenty of other new starting plant-based companies. I'm not worried about that. And like stated in the article, competitions is just good, especially when it's a new sector. The brand awareness is going to be even larger, or the awareness of eating more healthily, eating more plant-based is going to get out there, right? Which is going to mean that overall more people are going to buy these products. All right, folks, that was it for today. I hope you found a lot of value in today's video. And if you did, please smash that like button. And if you want to keep getting more information regarding Beyond Meat and other plant-based stocks, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And don't forget that bell button. If you've forgotten about that before, make sure that you push it, right? And if you missed it during the video, remember, I'm not a financial advisor. These are just my own thoughts and opinions and my philosophies. It's important to always do your own due diligence and invest safe. I hope you have a great Sunday. Peace out.